Before he could think of an answer, the ship suddenly stopped. It hovered in place for a moment, then turned towards the fleet, its weapons now glowing with a strange, bright light. Captain Zoran felt a chill run down his spine. For the first time in his career, he felt fear. This was no ordinary ship. Whoever was inside had just made it clear. They were not to be underestimated. "Raise shields!" he shouted, but it was already too late. The unknown ship fired a single shot, and the real battle was about to begin. Captain Zoran watched in shock as the unknown ship fired its first shot. It wasn't a normal laser blast. It was a beam of light so bright that the crew had to shield their eyes. The beam moved faster than anything they had ever seen, cutting through space like a knife through butter. "Brace for impact!" Zoran shouted, but it was too late. The beam struck one of the fleet's destroyers directly. For a second, nothing happened. Then, with a loud explosion, the destroyer shattered into pieces. There was no chance for the crew aboard it. The ship was gone in an instant, reduced to nothing but debris floating in space. Gasps filled the bridge of Captain Zoran's command ship. This was not supposed to happen. One shot, just one shot, and one of their most powerful ships was destroyed. "How is this possible?" one officer yelled, panic clear in his voice. "No ship has weapons like that." Captain Zoran didn't answer. His mind raced as he tried to understand what was happening. Who were these people? How could one small ship possess such power? His fleet was the pride of the Galactic Empire, feared by all. Yet this single ship was tearing through them like they were nothing. "All ships, open fire!" Zoran commanded, his voice tense. "Take it down now!" The entire fleet fired at the unknown ship, unleashing a storm of energy blasts. But the ship moved like a ghost, dodging and weaving through the attacks with ease. It was almost like it was dancing around their shots, playing with them. "Impossible," Zoran muttered under his breath. "This can't be happening." The ship fired again, targeting another one of the Empire's cruisers. This time it launched a series of smaller, rapid shots. Each one hit its mark with perfect accuracy. The cruiser was hit in multiple places, its shields unable to block the assault. In seconds, it erupted in a fireball, breaking apart into pieces. Zoran clenched his fists. This was no ordinary enemy. Whoever was piloting that ship knew exactly what they were doing. It was as if they had studied the fleet's tactics and weaknesses and were now using them against them. "Get me a scan on that ship," he barked. "I want to know who they are and where they came from." The officers worked quickly, but the ship was unlike anything they had encountered. The scanners couldn't identify its origin or its design. It was almost as if it was built using technology far beyond their understanding. The mysterious ship didn't give them any time to think. It continued its assault, firing at the fleet with pinpoint accuracy. Each shot was precise and deadly. More ships fell one by one, unable to withstand the attack. "Sir, we can't keep up with it," an officer shouted. "Our weapons can't hit it, and our shields won't hold much longer." Captain Zoran gritted his teeth. His fleet was being destroyed right before his eyes, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The unknown ship was too fast, too powerful. It was like facing a force of nature. "Pull back," he ordered. "Regroup and form a defensive line." The remaining ships tried to fall back, but the unknown ship was relentless. It moved in close, dodging their defenses and attacking with brutal efficiency. Every move it made was precise, like a predator playing with its prey. Zoran's heart pounded in his chest. He had never felt so helpless. The elite fleet, the strongest force in the galaxy, was being torn apart by a single ship. How is this possible?" he whispered, but there was no answer. The unknown ship didn't stop. It continued its attack, pushing the fleet to the brink of destruction. Captain Zoran could only watch as the mighty Galactic Empire's elite fleet crumbled before an enemy they didn't understand. In that moment, one thing became clear. Whoever was in that ship was not just powerful. They were unstoppable. And they were here to send a message. Panic spread through the bridge of Captain Zoran's command ship. The Galactic Empire's elite fleet was in disarray. They were losing ships fast, and their enemy was still moving like a phantom. The unknown ship seemed to know every trick in their book, every move they would make. It was as if it could read their minds. Zoran stared at the screens, his mind racing. How was this possible? What kind of technology could do this? It wasn't just powerful, it was beyond anything he had ever seen. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. "Get me a full analysis of that ship," Zoran ordered. "I want to know how it's doing this." The officers scrambled to obey. They focused the fleet's most advanced sensors on the ship, trying to break through whatever was hiding its secrets. But every time they thought they had something, the ship changed. Its structure, its energy signature. It was like it was rewriting itself on the fly. "Sir, the readings don't make sense," an officer said, his voice shaky. It's like the ship is adapting, changing its own technology as we attack it." Zoran's eyes widened. Adapting? Changing? That was impossible. No ship could do that. No technology in the galaxy could evolve in real time like this. And yet, this ship was doing it, effortlessly outmaneuvering their every move. "How can this be?" Zoran muttered. "What kind of technology are we dealing with?" The ship moved again, cutting through the fleet with precision. It wasn't just dodging their attacks now, it was predicting them. Every time a weapon fired, the ship was already gone, like it knew exactly where the shots would land. It moved with a grace and speed that seemed almost human. "Wait," Zoran said, his voice barely a whisper. Could it be human?" The idea seemed ridiculous at first. Humans were known in the galaxy, but they were considered a minor species, not a threat to the mighty Galactic Empire. But this ship, this technology, it was unlike anything even the most advanced empires had developed. "Sir," another officer called out, "we're picking up a transmission from the ship. It's in an old Earth language." Zoran's heart skipped a beat. Earth, humans. How could this be? How could a human ship possess such incredible power? "Put it on the speakers," Zoran ordered. The transmission crackled to life. It was a simple message, delivered in a calm, almost casual tone. "To the Galactic Empire, you are in violation of human territory. Leave now or be destroyed." Zoran felt a chill run down his spine. The voice was confident, unafraid. Whoever was piloting that ship knew exactly what they were doing. They had no fear of the Empire, no hesitation in declaring their intent. And they had the technology to back it up. "Human technology?" Zoran whispered, still struggling to believe it. But how? How did they become so advanced? The ship moved again, its weapons glowing as it prepared to strike. The Empire's ships tried to scatter, to evade the incoming attack, but it was no use. The human ship was too fast, too precise. It fired a series of blasts, each one hitting its target with pinpoint accuracy. More Empire ships exploded, their shields useless against the human weaponry. It was like nothing they had ever faced. The energy blasts seemed to cut through their defenses like they weren't even there, slicing through the fleet with terrifying efficiency. "Retreat!" Zoran shouted. "We need to regroup and come up with a plan!" But even as he gave the order, he knew it was hopeless. The human ship was already moving to intercept them, blocking their escape routes. It was controlling the battlefield, dictating the terms of the fight. And there was nothing they could do to stop it. How could we have been so blind? Zoran thought, his mind racing. Humans, we underestimated them. We thought they were weak, primitive. But this is beyond anything we imagined. The human ship fired again, its weapons cutting through the last of the Empire's defenses. It was clear now. This was not just a random attack. This was a demonstration, a message. The humans were showing the Galactic Empire exactly what they were capable of. "Sir, our weapons are useless against them," an officer cried. "We can't even scratch their shields." Zoran clenched his fists. They were outmatched, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. And the worst part was, it was all because of human technology. Technology that was so far beyond their own that it made the mighty Galactic Empire look like amateurs. The captain watched as the human ship continued its assault, knowing that this battle was already lost. But one question still burned in his mind. How had the humans done it? And what did it mean for the future of the galaxy? Captain Zoran stared at the wreckage of his once mighty fleet. Ships that had once been the pride of the Galactic Empire were now nothing but burning husks floating in space. His heart pounded with fear and anger. How could this have happened? How could a single human ship have done this? "Sir, what do we do?" an officer asked, his voice trembling. The entire crew was looking to Zoran for answers, but he had none. They were all terrified, their confidence shattered by this unexpected enemy. Zoran took a deep breath. He couldn't show weakness now. They were still the elite fleet, and he was still their captain. Even if they were facing a nightmare, they had to make a stand. "We make our last stand here," Zoran declared, his voice firm. "We will not run. We will fight. For the Empire." The crew nodded, though their eyes were filled with doubt. Zoran knew they didn't believe they could win, but they would fight anyway. They had no choice. This was about more than just survival. This was about honor, about proving that the Galactic Empire would not back down, no matter the odds. "All remaining ships, form up!" Zoran commanded. "Prepare for a full assault. We will hit that ship with everything we have." The remaining ships gathered, forming a tight formation. They powered up their weapons, preparing to unleash one last attack. It was a desperate move, but it was all they had left. The human ship hovered in the distance, almost as if it was waiting for them. It made no move to attack, just watching as the Empire's fleet prepared for its final stand. Zoran felt a surge of anger. The ship was toying with them, mocking their efforts. "Charge all weapons!" Zoran ordered. "Focus fire on their shields. We have to break through!" The Empire's ships locked on to the human vessel. Energy surged through their weapons as they prepared to fire. This was it. Their last chance to turn the tide, to prove that they were not beaten yet. "Fire!" Zoran shouted. The fleet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, missiles, and torpedoes. The space between them and the human ship lit up with explosions and laser beams. It was a storm of firepower, more than enough to destroy any normal ship. But the human ship was not normal. It moved through the barrage like a dancer on a stage, weaving between the blasts with impossible grace. Not a single shot hit it. The ship was faster than their targeting systems could handle, avoiding every attack as if it knew exactly where they would be. "How is this possible?" Zoran yelled, slamming his fist against the console. "No ship can move like that." The human ship suddenly changed course, diving straight toward the fleet. Zoran's eyes widened. It was coming right at them, and they couldn't stop it. Their weapons were still firing, but it was like trying to hit a ghost. The ship was already past them by the time their shots landed. "It's inside our formation," an officer shouted. Zoran turned to look, his heart sinking. The human ship was now in the middle of their fleet, its weapons glowing with energy. It fired in all directions, taking out ships with pinpoint accuracy. One by one, the Empire's ships exploded, unable to withstand the onslaught. "Pull back! Pull back!" Zoran ordered, but it was too late. The human ship was a blur of motion, striking with speed and precision. It was like watching a predator among sheep, picking them off one by one. Zoran could only watch as his fleet was torn apart, powerless to stop it. "Sir, we're losing all our ships," an officer cried. "We can't hold them off." Zoran gritted his teeth. This was not how it was supposed to end. They were the elite fleet, the strongest force in the galaxy. They should have been victorious, not defeated by a single ship. But this enemy was beyond anything they had faced before. "We have to make one last move," Zoran said, his voice grim. "We'll ram them. We'll take them down with us." The crew stared at him in shock. It was a suicide mission, but they had no other options. Zoran knew that if they didn't stop this ship now, it would continue its path of destruction, and the Empire would be defenseless. "Set a collision course," Zoran commanded. "All remaining ships, follow my lead." The command ship turned toward the human vessel, engines roaring as it accelerated. The remaining ships followed, forming a line behind Zoran. It was a desperate move, but it was all they had left. They would go down fighting, and they would take this enemy with them. The human ship seemed to realize what they were doing. It paused for a moment as if considering its options. Then it moved. But instead of retreating, it sped up, heading straight for them. "It's coming right at us!" an officer shouted. Zoran's eyes narrowed. This was it. The final showdown. If they could just hit it, just make contact, they could take it down. But even as he thought this, he knew it was a slim hope. "Prepare for impact!" he yelled. The two ships raced toward each other, closing the distance in seconds. Zoran braced himself, knowing that this was the end. But just as they were about to collide, the human ship vanished. It blinked out of existence, like a ghost disappearing into the night. Where did it go?" Zoran stammered, looking around in confusion. The answer came a moment later. The human ship reappeared behind them, its weapons glowing with energy. It had outmaneuvered them again, dodging their final attack with ease. Zoran closed his eyes as the human ship fired. This was the end. The Empire's last stand had failed, and now they would pay the price. Captain Zoran opened his eyes. The bridge was still intact. He expected to be dead, for his ship to be nothing but space debris. But nothing happened. The human ship had fired, but it hadn't destroyed them. Instead, it had disabled their engines, leaving them floating in space, powerless. "Sir, we've lost all power," an officer reported. "Weapons, shields, engines, everything is offline." Zoran stared at the screen, confusion washing over him. The human ship was still there, hovering just out of reach. It could destroy them with a single shot, but it hadn't. It was sparing them. "Why?" Zoran whispered. "Why didn't they finish us off?" The human ship began to move again, slowly approaching the command ship. It was like a predator inspecting its prey, making sure there was no more fight left. The crew watched in silence, waiting for the end. Suddenly, a voice came over the speakers. It was calm, firm, and unmistakably human. "This is Captain Anderson of the Earthship Valiant. You are in violation of human space." Zoran's eyes widened. They had a name now, Valiant, and a captain, Anderson. This wasn't just some rogue vessel. It was a warship, and it was sending them a message. "You entered our territory without permission," Captain Anderson continued. "You attacked us without provocation. We have every right to destroy you, but we choose not to. Instead, we offer you a warning." Zoran's mind raced. A warning? The human captain was giving them a chance, a way out. Why? What was their angle? "You underestimated us," Anderson said, his voice steady. "You thought humans were weak, that we could be bullied or conquered. But we are not the same as we once were. We have grown. We have learned. And we will not be threatened." The crew listened in stunned silence. This was not what they expected. They had come here expecting an easy victory, to show their strength and superiority. Instead, they were being lectured by the very enemy they had sought to crush. "You are not the first to make this mistake," Anderson continued. "And you will not be the last. But let this be a lesson to your empire. Humanity will not be your prey. We are not your servants. We are not your subjects. We are your equals." Zoran felt a chill run down his spine. The human captain spoke with a calm authority that was more terrifying than any weapon. It was clear now. This whole battle had been a demonstration, a display of power to show the Empire exactly what they were up against. "You will return to your empire," Anderson ordered. "You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them what you faced. And you will tell them this. If you cross into human space again, if you threaten us or our people, we will not show mercy a second time." The human ship turned, moving away from the command ship. The crew watched as it drifted back, slowly but confidently. It was leaving them, letting them go. But the message was clear. The humans had made their point. "Sir, what do we do?" an officer asked, breaking the silence. Zoran took a deep breath. They had been beaten, humiliated. But they were still alive, and that meant they had a job to do. They had to take this warning back to the Empire, to make sure it was heard. "We retreat," Zoran said, his voice hollow. "We return to the Empire and deliver the message." The human ship was almost out of sight now, fading into the darkness of space. Zoran watched it go, feeling a mix of relief and fear. They had been given a chance to live, but that chance came with a cost. They now knew what the humans were capable of, and it was a truth that would shake the Empire to its core. "Prepare to send a transmission to High Command," Zoran ordered. "Tell them everything." The crew nodded, working to restore what systems they could. They would need to tell the Empire the full story, every detail of what had happened, how a single human ship had obliterated their fleet without breaking a sweat. As they began to prepare for the journey back, Zoran couldn't help but wonder what the future would hold. The humans had shown incredible strength and restraint. They could have destroyed the fleet, but they hadn't. They had chosen to send a message instead. "Captain Anderson," Zoran muttered, the name burning in his mind. "Who are you, and what have you become?" The Empire would need to rethink everything they knew about humans. They were not just another species to conquer. They were something more, something powerful. The galaxy had underestimated them, and now it would have to face the consequences. Zoran turned away from the screen, the weight of the warning settling on his shoulders. This was not the end. It was only the beginning, and the Empire would have to decide how to respond. Would they heed the warning, or would they make the same mistake again? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. The age of underestimating humanity was over.